And now, live from the Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, and from Casa del Freytown in Taylor, Michigan, the Outside Blitz presents the Cannonball Alex Steele and the fabulous Scotty Freytown.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Outside Blitz. I am your host, the fabulous one, Scotty Freytown, along with my co-host, the Cannonball Alex Steele. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Hey, what's up, people?
We are a week removed. NFL Draft has come and gone. It was one of the greatest weekends of the year, as always. Very entertaining stuff.
We love it.
We went live. We were live for the first round of the NFL Draft. We loved every second of it. Lots of beer. Lots of pizza, lots of that's a pizza, lots of good food. We had a great time. Alex, how are we feeling?
I feel absolutely wonderful. I mean, I'm kind of sad that, that the draft weekend's over with and that we got to put, I mean, I already miss you and I already miss my friends, but I do know that fantasy football is one of the next things around the corner. We just had our fantasy draft for Dynasty.
Dynasty
Words
League,
are hard today.
Yeah, the Dynasty League kicked off yesterday, just wrapped up about maybe an hour and a half ago. And it was great, and people are already making trades. That's one thing I like about Dynasty fantasy football. It's like a year-round thing, and trades just happen all the time. But this is where it really gets rolling as far as our league goes. Everybody is just on point, making trades, making moves, and everything just kind of gets fired up a couple of weeks before the Dynasty draft. So it's a good time. But folks, speaking of drafts, we got a lot of stuff going on. The NFL draft. We're going to be talking a little bit about the AFC draft grades today for all the AFC teams. Next week, we'll be covering all the NFC teams. And then the week after that, we're going to be talking about our way too early 2027 NFL draft players to watch. That's going to be our hot button topic in about 2 weeks' time. But for now, we're going to be talking about our AFC draft grades for the 2026 draft. But first, we got news around the league. We got a lot going on. Believe it or not, within the last week, it's been absolutely nuts. I mean, it's gone ballistic around the league with a lot of crazy stuff going on. Alex, let's jump into a few of these news stories. First of all, let's jump into the Steelers stuff. They got a lot going on right now. First, they have applied a rare unrestricted free agent tender on quarterback Aaron Rodgers. It gives them basically this happens almost never. This UFA tender it grants the Steelers first right of refusal with the quarterback. So here's what this means. If Aaron Rodgers returns to the Steelers, he can return on a 10% salary increase, which would make his cap hit $15 million for the 2026-27 season. If a team does offer Aaron Rodgers a deal that is higher than that $15 million, the Steelers will have an opportunity to match or beat that offer. The Steelers believe that this whole situation will be resolved in the next couple of weeks, but we've been hearing this situation is going to be resolved since, it was going to be resolved before the NFL draft. And now here we are. Aaron Rodgers, why has this become a yearly thing now? I feel like every year in the offseason we're on Rodgers watch. Is he going to retire? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is he going to be on an ayahuasca retreat? Is he going to be doing some darkness retreat? What in the hell is going on? And I don't understand why teams put up with him. And in the meantime, and we're going to be talking about it shortly, the Steelers have since went out and drafted Drew Aller in the NFL draft. So that's a thing. What the hell are we doing here, Alex? Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be back?
I honestly don't know. It is that level of uncertainty that, it kind of puts the ball in Aaron Rodgers' court. NFL teams are kind of sweating and, rubbing their hands together, and things of that nature. But I'm getting a little bit of an echo on the other side, but it could just be me. But he should be fine over there. But no, if we're talking, Aaron Rodgers has always been a controversial figure. He always has. And, for the past several years, it's always been something else. What, is it ayahuasca this week? Is it, is he going to go to a different team? Is he going to retire? This and that. I mean, we've asked these questions already. But the fact that the Steelers drafted Drew Aller in the draft, it's a good pick. I would think that, of course, Pittsburgh is preparing for their future, and Drew Aller is their quarterback of the future. Now, how long he sits on the bench, is left to be desired. But you also have a quarterback room that includes Mason Rudolph and Will Howard.
Yep.
So I'm like, it's kind of a peanut gallery when you think of quarterback rooms. It's Aaron Rodgers, maybe Drew Aller, and everybody else. We don't know what Will Howard's going to bring to the table, but we were thinking that when Will Howard was drafted, he was going to be the guy of the future.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the confusing thing when it comes to the Steelers quarterback room. You look at the situation that they're currently dealing with, right? And it's like, is Will Howard that guy? And this is a national championship winning quarterback, right? And we kind of saw him at the combine, and I'll be frank with you, when we watched Will Howard at the combine, we saw them interviewing Will Howard, and we're like, what in the hell are you interviewing him for? He stunk today. And we felt like it kind of sunk his draft stock a little bit, and a lot of people were hyping him up, and I didn't understand what people were looking at because he did not look good. But he's been backing up the Steelers quarterback room. He's been sort of a third stringer, dealing with a little bit of an injury issue last year, and then at the same time you have Drew Aller, who just gets drafted. I mean, it makes you wonder: is Mike McCarthy not sold on Will Howard? Is Mike McCarthy more sold on Drew Aller? Is what's going on? Mason Rudolph still hanging around there? We don't know what the hell's going on with Mason Rudolph. We don't know what
they're going to trade him for. Are they going to trade him for a pack of gum and a flat tire? Like a 7th round pick. Yeah,
I mean, and is Mason Rudolph even worth that? I mean, Mason Rudolph is getting a little long in the tooth here. I mean, he's been a backup forever, and it's just like, what are we doing? And Aaron Rodgers, I feel like it's just nonstop drama with Aaron Rodgers. Oh, yeah. It's just not worth it anymore. At a certain point, it's like, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm so done. And so the Steelers, now they have this big quarterback controversy going on because Aaron Rodgers just can't make up his mind. It's like asking my wife what's for dinner. She doesn't know, and neither does he. It's like, goodness gracious. So we got to figure out what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. But the Steelers also have other stuff going on. They have decided to decline a 5th-year option on former 2023 first-round pick offensive tackle Broderick Jones. So they declined the 5th-year option on him. If you look at the numbers on Broderick Jones, they have not been good. He has struggled mightily. This last year, just a 57.7 PFF grade, a 50.6 run blocking grade. Just a 59 pass blocking grade. I mean, it was just bad. The year before that, similar stuff, 58.5, 54.6, his best run blocking grade, a 64.2. Dr. Jones is one of those guys that hasn't panned out for a first-round pick. As an offensive tackle, you think they would try him inside, but they've left him outside. They're not picking up the 5th-year option. They're going to let him walk. I don't blame him here. Do you?
No, at this point, and again, we come across that infamous phrase, former first-round pick. With numbers like that, it's obvious that there's something going down. And that's his stock as a Pittsburgh Steelers offensive lineman. So, at some point you do have to cut bait. I'm sure there are other free agent prospects out there that the Steelers can, negotiate some terms with.
That's what I'm thinking. And yeah, I'm all about that. Broderick Jones, it's time. It's time to go bye-bye. And he's not going to be in a Steelers uniform much longer. And also the Steelers go out and sign defensive end Dean Lowry to a 2-year extension. I actually don't mind this. Lowry's been in the league for a long time. Former Minnesota Viking. Now, and he's been a Pittsburgh Steeler for a hot minute. I think this is a good signing. They get him on a 2-year deal. Good guy to keep around. Good veteran presence. I'm absolutely 100% fine with this deal. And they get him on a dime. So yeah, good move by the Pittsburgh Steelers, keeping Dean Lowry hanging around. I like this move. How about you?
Yep, I mean, I like it too. You have a proven player that you have. And he's a defensive end as well. And I have a hard time saying that he's like a reason that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense has been good, but at the same time, I mean, like you said, when you have a quality player that kind of flies under the radar and doesn't really like make too many headlines, but he does the job for you, and when you call upon him and he does what you ask him, you want somebody like that around.
He gets the job done. That's the big thing for him. He gets the job done. So, I mean, I'm okay with the Dean Lowry signing. I think that's smart. We were just talking about Aaron Rodgers. Well, his former team making some moves. Let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. They go out and sign wide receiver Jaden Reed to a 3-year, $50.25 million extension. Big money, baby. And Reed gets the deal. Look, I'm actually a little surprised by this because, I am and I'm not, because they got rid of Romeo Doubs, right? They send Romeo Doubs out the door. And obviously they've had this kind of on again, off again, good and bad relationship with Romeo Doubs, so they send him out the door. They've got Matthew Golden over there, who they spent first-round draft capital on last offseason rather. Matthew Golden really hasn't done much. You got Christian Watson over there, who it seems like is just a walking hamstring injury. Jaden Reed has been like. I feel like he's like Deebo Samuel light in a way. Like he's just a very gadgety type of player. He's just that kind of guy that you're going to throw the ball to out of the backfield. He makes big plays constantly. I feel like the Packers, I don't know that he's a wide receiver 1, but like I do feel like he could be your Deebo Samuel wide receiver 2 type. And I feel like he kind of could fit that role if the Packers use him in that role. I don't know if he's worth $50.25 million, but I'm not entirely angry at this signing. How about you?
No, I mean, he's 26 years old. He's only been on the team for 3 years. So he was a second-round pick in 2023. And through 40 games played, he only played 7 games last year. Ran into a little trouble, but. In the first 2 full seasons he played, his numbers were really good. In his second year, I think it was a little more accurate and his average was higher. He did get more touchdowns in his first year, but it's a smart play. He's definitely got some tread on the tire still. I think he might. So obviously they extended him out of his rookie deal. If it was me, I would have let it go through this 1 year and then go for the extension after that, or even pick up his 5th option. But it sounds like the Packers have their opinions on Jaden Reed, and they made this decision, based on what they've seen so far from the man.
Well, to be fair, I mean, he was a 2nd-round pick, so he doesn't get a 5th-round option. So you only get the 4 years because he was wasn't a first-round pick. Only the first-round pick gets the 5th-year pickup. But even if you went through this year, I kind of get the Packers where it's like I don't want to go through the 1 year with the prove it, right? I understand what you're saying. Go through 1 year, make it a prove it deal. But then if he does prove it, now you're talking big money. And you're going to have to deal with that big money. Otherwise, he's just going to be walking out the door to free agency. To use a Super Troopers term, your balls are this close to the bandsaw, right? So at that point, it's like, all right, well, what do we want to do here? Let's go ahead and say, just sign him to the deal. We know he's going to produce in some sort of way. As long as he's healthy, he produces. So get him on kind of a reasonable contract, a more reasonable contract than if he blew up like, 1,300 and 1,400 yards. Because if he did that, then you're going to be talking about a $25 to $30 million receiver, right? So they're getting him on this type of deal, which I kind of understand. The Packers
and
doing.
the other thing you have to keep an eye on is cap space.
Yeah,
and cap hit. If you have a bigger deal, later on, you're still going to have to eat the cap space, especially if stuff doesn't work out. Here, if things don't work out, you have the option to just cut your losses and seek help elsewhere.
They're doing the right thing here. I didn't at first. It was like, I don't know if he's worth it, and then I'm like, well, maybe he is. This deal might actually be smart on the Packers, and they're over here playing chess while the rest of the league and myself are playing checkers. But I digress. Next up, let's talk about the Packers doing the other smart thing. They pick up the 50-year option on linebacker Lucas Van Ness. He's a former 2023 first-round pick. I really like the fact that they picked up this option. I like Lucas Van Ness. I think he's a rock-solid player. The Packers do the right thing. Just a stud player on that defense, and I think they're going to have this guy for the long term. You got about another year, and then they got, obviously the 5th year. They're probably going to be issuing a big-time extension to him, and they're going to wind up keeping him around for the long term. What do you think about this pickup here?
Absolutely stunning. He was a pick 13 in 2023. So obviously, then he's a big Iowa. He's a big Iowa corn-fed dude, 6'5", 272. He had 84 total tackles, 58 total tackles in his career. Had recorded 8.5 sacks, had a forced fumble and a recovery. So he had a turnover. I believe that was in 24. So, you definitely have a utility player. You got some beef, who has some speed, and it's a smart move by Green Bay. Very capable asset there.
I agree with you. I think he's a perfect fit for what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball. Great tackler. He's got good vision. I just think he's one of the better linebackers in football. One of those kind of unsung type of linebackers that not enough people talk about. Lucas Van Ness, he's fantastic. Elsewhere around that division, let's go ahead and talk about the Chicago Bears. They got some stuff going on. First of all, offensive tackle Darnell Wright's 50-year option was exercised. That was announced by general manager Ryan Poles. He confirmed that. I actually like that a lot. I think Darnell Wright, he's been really good for them. The Bears have done a really great job putting together an offensive line over the last over the last year, really. 2 years ago, that offensive line was getting Caleb Williams killed. And then over the last year, this last season, Caleb Williams was so well protected and well taken care of that Bears offense was humming, especially after about week 2. They were just rolling. And the Chicago Bears, they do the right thing. They go out and get Wright's 50-year option. Perfect. I think that's the most brilliant thing they could have done there for that offensive line.
Yep. It's proving now that, the Bears are starting to turn a leaf, as far as organization wide is concerned. I mean, we always kind of thumb our noses at the family that owns it. Although I think one of the older owners, passed away recently, but at the same time, getting Darnell Wright, and getting him back on track, I think it's it's a no-brainer. I mean, you need that kind of firepower up front, to hold back those defensive tackles.
Absolutely. He's been rock solid for them. And then the Bears linebacker TJ Edwards, who suffered a fractured fibula in Chicago's wild card win over the Packers. He told reporters that his recovery has gone well, but he isn't putting a firm timeline on his return to the field. He added that he hopes to begin playing in the summer. You would hope that TJ Edwards hopes to be playing in the summer, but the Bears, do they go out looking for another big time linebacker? Do you think? If you were the Bears, would you be going out looking for a free agent linebacker? Would you have picked one up in the draft to possibly start? What would you do here?
I would have liked to learn this. I would have liked to learn this news before the draft so we can go
Mhm.
get somebody
Yeah.
if I was the Bears. But obviously they're going to have to go into free agency. I mean, yes, yeah, recovery goal. I'm not putting a firm timeline. That means that recovery is not going the way it is planned. And we have, you have coach speak, you have players speak, you have reporters speak, but we tend to over, because of what we've experienced as fans over the last several years, you can sit there and go, okay, yeah, I know what that phrase means. I'm going to run that through my BS to English translator. That means TJ Edwards needs to be. We need a replacement on hand, and we need it pronto.
And the closest thing they got to a replacement for him, at least in the draft right now, was Keyshawn Elliott, the linebacker out of Arizona State in the 5th round. That was the closest thing they wound up getting. So, I mean, hey, good luck to you guys, I guess. it's going to be
I don't think I'm panicking as a Bears fan overall. But at the same time, it's not. You need every functioning piece you can get your hands on.
I would be concerned if I was a Bears fan. Honestly, TJ Edwards is a key cog to that defense. He really is. In that linebacker group in the center of the field, he is the real deal. He's basically one of the best tackling linebackers in all of football. And if you don't have him, your defense doesn't function very well. They're going to need to get him out on the field. Elsewhere around that division, let's talk about my Minnesota Vikings. This one was kind of interesting, something that happened on draft night. The Vikings trade edge rusher Jonathan Grenard to the Eagles for a 2026 third-round pick and a 2027 third-round pick. The Vikings used the 2026 third-round pick for safety Jacoby Thomas from the University of Miami. Interesting stuff on this one. I kind of expected Jonathan Grenard to be going out the door. So Rob Brzezinski has taken over as the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. If you know anything about Rob Brzezinski, he is the former Vikings cap guy. That's all he did. He dealt with the salary cap. And the Vikings, when they were under Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, they were not in a very good situation as far as the salary cap goes. And if you look at where the Vikings landed after last season, Jonathan Grenard suddenly, from a cap perspective, became one of the more expendable guys as far as the cap went. And unfortunately, here we are, Grenard, it was time to say goodbye, right? And I feel bad for that because Jonathan Grenard has been an integral part of the Minnesota Vikings defense, but we did go out and draft Dallas Turner in Detroit, right? And you draft Dallas Turner, and it's sink or swim time. It's time for Dallas Turner to step up and be the guy, and either you're going to be the big time edge rusher, or you're not the guy, or you're a bust, right? And so at this stage, you had to cut bait, you had to save the money, you had to get cap compliant, and that's exactly what Rob Brzezinski did. He winds up getting 2 third-round draft picks. I know a lot of Vikings fans weren't really happy about the return that we got on it. Some Vikings fans said, hey, this was the right amount. We got the right amount back. And some Vikings fans said, I don't really like that. I don't think we got the right amount. I think we kind of just wasted Grenard, and he's a special player. For the Eagles, the rich get richer, right? But for the Vikings, if you have a guy like Dallas Turner on a rookie scale contract, you got him in the first round. He's got 3 years left on that rookie scale deal. This is his time, to step up and show up and show out and show that he's the real edge rusher for this football team. For the Minnesota Vikings, I'm actually okay with Grenard going out the door. I'm actually okay with the fact that you picked up a safety that I wasn't thrilled about the fact that you picked up this specific safety, but it's a guy that Brian Flores wanted. A lot of these defensive picks, and we'll talk about them, next week when we talk about the NFC grades, but a lot of these Brian Flores picks, or these defensive picks, they have Brian Flores' fingerprints all over them, right? So, I mean, if this is a guy you wanted, okay, we'll go with it. But at the end of the day, Jonathan Grenard going out the door, the rich get richer. Alex, where are you at on this? Do you think the Vikings made the right move?
I mean, I think so. There are arguments that can say, either way. You have you picked up a 2027 third round pick. Obviously, you spent the 26th one on Jacoby Thomas, but I don't think this is a bad thing. To your point, Dallas Turner was drafted in Detroit for a reason, and that reason is that you have to prepare for your future. Well, the future is now. So, if Jonathan Grenard, still has some tread on the tires, but you have a fresher player, chomping at the bit, ready to step into that role. Let him step into that role. Brian Flores, has a plan. I firmly believe he has a plan, and and we'll see what happens when they take the field. I guess. I mean, I've always been a wait till I see it kind of guy. Yeah. I don't really have much when it comes to like depth perception. I guess I have a little bit more depth perception when it comes to my team, the Detroit Lions, but that's just me, having, inside, not inside access, but I've watched a lot of their games over the years, and I can see patterns. I can see like how the organization thinks. I'm sure just as I'm sure you can, see how your organization thinks or doesn't think.
Yeah.
Right. But, for my money, I think they did the right thing by, look at it. They gotta finish the move by saying, Dallas Turner, you're the guy. But if you're going to save cap by getting rid of Jonathan Grenard, it was an act of necessity.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. That would probably be the best way to put it, right? It was an act of necessity. You had to get cap compliant. You had to get the draft pick, the capital. You had to get the draft picks and make the moves that you needed to make to fix your team and go younger and go more fiscally responsible, right? They blew all that money on free agency last year for Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, and neither of those guys panned out. So here we are, and that's just what it turned into. And we'll talk about the picks that they made, but at the end of the day, the Vikings, they're making moves. And speaking of that general manager, now that the NFL draft has concluded, the Vikings have said that the search for a new general manager is underway. Rob Brzezinski, who was the cab guy, we just talked about him. He's been serving as the interim general manager. He has reportedly expressed interest in taking over the job fully. So we're going to find out. There's another guy that just left the Philadelphia Eagles, their assistant general manager. And Vikings fans are kind of tabbing him, kind of saying this could be the guy. So we're going to see who that new general manager is going to wind up being. But at the end of the day, we're looking for a new general manager. In the meantime, Brzezinski continues to make moves. The next big move, they go out and pick up the fifth-year option on 2023 first-round draft pick wide receiver Jordan Addison. So Addison gets his fifth-year option picked up. No surprise here. In spite of all of Addison's off-the-field antics and bullshit, he's still one of the best receivers in all of football. He really is. He's still one of the best. He's still one of the guys that is one of the premier wide receivers in the league, one of the top wide receiver twos out there right now. He's proven time and time again that when Justin Jefferson's been out, he's capable of being a wide receiver one. I actually am really feeling this move right here. Get the fifth-year option done. I don't think Addison is going to wind up being a Viking after these next two seasons are over with. Maybe even after this season, you could see Addison getting dealt because of all the off the field stuff. But I just don't know when it comes to Jordan Addison. I
have two schools of thought on this.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you do need to get rid of him because what the heck else kind of trouble can he get himself into? And you always have that question in the back of your head. The other question the other thing that pops up is, well, What if he decides to blow up this year? What if he really comes into his own and it's like, oh, all right, he just broke 1,500 yards and he got us to the NFC title game, if not the Super Bowl, it helped. I mean, it's a team effort, but let's say like that does happen. You make it to the NFC title game. You make it to the Super Bowl. Hell, you win the Super Bowl and Jordan Addison is somehow responsible for it. Now it's like, to sweep that other shit under the rug. But I mean, obviously that's a pipe dream, for any NFL fan. So we have to think realistically here. But even if, you make a deep playoff run, and even if Jordan Addison produces and does it consistently, then you have to have a conversation. If he doesn't pan out, I mean, it's a pretty easy, just let his contract lapse, let him walk out the door. But, or maybe you can get something for him. You find out, early on, like before the trade deadline, that he really stinks. Okay, he's a problem for our roster, and there are teams out there that need wide receivers like him, talent-wise at least. What can we get for him?
You're going to find out what you can get for him at that point. I think if the Vikings were smart, in my opinion, I would be going into next year's draft and I'd be considering, what can we get for Jordan Addison? Because as young as he is, just for all the off the field BS, I've been done with him for a minute because of all the off the field stuff. That's just me. I know other people are willing to take on all that. He did lead the league in drops last year. So that was something that's
a problem.
That kind of stood out to me as well. So I want to see what happens with Jordan Addison after this season. Obviously, after this year, we're talking about year 5 he'll be going into. So we're going to see what happens with him after this year. Other teams making moves on 5th-year options. Let's talk about it. The Jets, they go out and pick up the 5th-year option on 2023 first-round pick Will McDonald, the edge rusher. I
think I'm sensing a trend here. I'm seeing a lot of 2023s popping up here.
It's about the time for teams to start picking up the 5th-year options or declining the 5th-year options. It's about that time. For the 5th-year options for that class specifically to be picked up or dropped. But Will McDonald, he's one of those guys right now that his draft class. I like this pickup. I think this is a smart move. You go out and get a top edge rusher. You keep him. You spend a first-round draft pick on him. He's been a good player for your team. I don't know if Will McDonald is the guy as much as he is kind of the other guy. But if you look at what the Jets just did, you've got Will McDonald on one side and you've got David Bailey on the other side from the NFL draft. We'll be talking about that shortly. But I actually love this move. You get a double whammy at edge rusher. I'm here for it. I absolutely love this.
Yep. I wish Detroit would start taking some notes because we still need help. Hutch needs help. But, moving to Will McDonald here, he's had 72 total tackles. He's had 46 of those tackles were solo, 3 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery. So he's a turnover machine. Mm-hmm. He's had, 12.5 stuffs in his career for 26 yards, So so he's had a lot of healthy production with the New York Jets, and we've always said that as much maligned as their organization is, as much of a government cheese organization as the New York Jets have been, one thing they've been consistently good at is defense. So it's hard to win in the NFL period, but now that you got that monster David Bailey on the other side. There's really, you really have an opportunity to kind of shut down, really pinch the quarterback in the pocket and hope to God he doesn't get out.
The thing that's kind of interesting about Will McDonald is as I almost feel bad for him. Last year, the Jets, it was probably the worst we've seen the Jets defense play in quite some time, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was the worst. I mean, no turnovers. You got literally had 0 interceptions last year.
Yeah. How how is it in today's NFL that you play an entire season without a single interception? You know,
That's
it's even another thing of it there. If you had 0 turnovers, period, that's even worse.
for the Jets I'm sorry, the defensive line rather was really not good. Neither was the offensive line, but the defensive line for the Jets really wasn't good. Your secondary struggled, and then obviously you traded away Sauce Gardner. That didn't do you any favors. But you had Will McDonald up there with Jermaine Johnson, and they just kind of didn't mesh, I don't think. And you traded away your best defensive tackle. That didn't do you any favors. And then, and then you traded away for Tavondre Sweat, which was you traded Jermaine Johnson away because you knew you were going to end up with David Bailey, and you wind up with David Bailey. So now you've got Will McDonald, you got Tavondre Sweat, and you got David Bailey up front, which I love. I think that is such a great group to have in the front, your front four on the defensive side of the ball. Will McDonald has struggled against run defense, but, really, if you look at what he does best, he just pass rushes. That's what he does well. He's 73 pass rush grade. If you look at 68.9 pass rush grade, 71 pass rush grade, that's what he does well. He's not the guy. I assure you, he is not going to be the guy. He is not going to be, the Aiden Hutchinson. He is not going to be the Everson Griffin. He is not going to be the Jared Allen of the group. He is going to be the other guy. He's going to be your Brian Robeson, right, if you will. To use a Viking term, he'll be your Brian Robeson of the group. But at the end of the day, he rushes the passer pretty well. And so if that's what you need him to do with David Bailey, and that's how you're going to be effective on the defensive side of the ball, good on you. And oh, by the way, last I checked, they just drafted a guy named D'Angelo Pons, who is pretty damn good. So I hope everybody is excited about that, as excited about that as we are. Now moving into other fifth-year options, let's talk about the Eagles. They picked up a fifth-year option on two guys. They picked it up on defensive tackle Jalen Carter. No surprise there. And outside linebacker and edge rusher Nolan Smith. So they go out and pick up both those fifth-year options. No surprise on either one of those. They were both a part of that Georgia Bulldogs defense, we called it, that Georgia Bulldogs or Georgia Eagles defense, if you will. Here we are. They both get brought back, and I'm not surprised at this one bit.
Yeah, let's just hope that Jalen Carter learns not to spit on the opposing quarterback and get ejected from the game. And one of the things that we do have to kind of keep track of, as the season does get closer, is what's the one BS story they're going to try to run with in the first week? Because it's always something. And then by like week 5, we're just so happy that football's back, we don't really care. But that's not to say that, Jalen Carter is a tremendous asset on that front four, like you mentioned. Absolute animal at the line. He's got a ton of beef. And then you talk Nolan Smith. That's the other guy. So this guy, he's a monster. He's a monster too. Had 10.5 sacks in his career, 2 forced fumbles, and he recovered. He had 2 recoveries. Both the Philadelphia Eagles. I've always said this, left and right. We always say, "Oh, the rich get richer," but there's a reason for that. This organization has always been one of the savviest in football. They kind of understand the game, and they understand what their team needs are.
Yeah, Nolan Smith, speedster off the edge. That's what he does well. He comes off the edge really fast and hits the quarterback. I really like Nolan Smith a lot as an outside linebacker. Fifth-year option. Also, let's talk about Zay Flowers for the Baltimore Ravens. They go out and pick up the fifth-year option for him. No surprise here. Zay Flowers has been really great for them. As long as he keeps the attitude in check. I really like Zay Flowers. He's produced numbers ever since he's come into the league. I'm here for it. Give me Zay Flowers on a fifth-year option. Absolutely. I can't believe he's been in the league this long already. It doesn't seem like he has. But yeah, Zay Flowers, I'm 100% in on him. If I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I like this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's obviously one of your best receivers, and not and then, Baltimore's gone through their fair share of receivers. I mean, I believe they had Anquan Bolden at one point. Uh, I think they had Hollywood Brown, then they traded him off to the Chiefs. I think he had some time in Arizona too, but but Zay Flowers, I think I am probably going to say that Zay Flowers is their wide receiver one. And they have a pretty impressive. It's a pretty impressive. Lineup to begin with. But do you have Zay Flowers with the fifth year option? Makes total sense.
Easily the no wide receiver one over there, not even close. But the Ravens making other moves too. Defensive tackle Nnamdi Madubuike, he goes out and undergoes neck surgery. The doctors now Madubuike, if you remember, he was out, or Madubuike rather. That's how you pronounce his name. Yep. But he was out for a significant amount of time last year, and because of the neck issue, he winds up having surgery. Doctors believe he's going to be able to resume playing this season. So that's great news for the Baltimore Ravens, getting him back. He's one of the best defensive tackles in all of football, and they're going to wind up getting the big man back on the field. Tyler was, the resident Ravens fan, was not in a good mood when they lost him, and now he is super excited to have him back.
Well, I mean, if I was a Ravens fan and I knew that BK was on the shelf for the rest of the year, especially when you're right on the edge of the playoffs and it comes down to week 18, I'm pretty sure they could have used him in that week 18 slugfest, and I think things would have gone a lot differently. They wouldn't have had to rely on a kicker going wide right. So, you keep that man healthy, and, you can see that that Baltimore defense return to form.
See it return to form in another way as well, because a guy who is timeless, he is absolutely timeless. Defensive end Calais Campbell is returning to the Ravens for his 19th season on a 1-year deal. This dude plays at such a high level still for a guy who's been in the league for 19 years. And as a defensive end, he plays still. I mean, he's amazing. He's so disruptive. And he plays at just a higher level than some of the younger guys in this league. It's incredible to watch. He keeps himself in better shape than a majority of the defensive ends in this league. I'm here for Calais Campbell coming back to the Ravens. You got to love that, right?
Oh, I love it. It's a tremendous. It's great to see that somebody somebody who's been around since Ed Reed. Somebody who's been around since Terrell Suggs, and it's like you can point to all those guys and go, yep, I shared a field with those guys. And, 19 years is quite a long time to dedicate to one team, let alone being, let alone being in the NFL.
He's dedicated to one team. He's been with the Miami Dolphins. I think he was with the Raiders. He's been a little bit of a journeyman for a while. I think he went to the Vikings for a little while. He's been around, but being with the Ravens, though, I mean, I think it's a great fit for him. He's been with the Ravens. I think he's been with the Ravens a handful of times, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's been 2 different tenures with the Ravens. I think it's in the last.
I'm gonna go look that up real quick because he spent the first 8 years of his career. So he was drafted in 2008.
Yep.
Okay. That gives you an idea. George W. Bush was still president of the United States. So,
Jesus.
But yeah, so talk about a throwback. But, but he spent the first 8 years in Arizona. Then he spent a couple of years in Jacksonville. He spent 3 years in Baltimore from 2020 through 2022. Then went to Atlanta, then went back to Miami, and then went back to Arizona, and here we are again. I think he really just wanted to touch on each of the NFL teams he's visited before, before he really hangs them up for good. But I think timeless is a very apropos description for this man.
He's just been around the league forever. He's still, like I said, playing at a super high level. Is Calais Campbell. So here we are back to the Baltimore Ravens, but the Ravens make an interesting move here. And I want to talk about it because I think this move matters. The Ravens go out and sign, and this one kind of drove us all crazy after the draft. We talked about it, and we're like, what in the hell is going on? The Ravens sign undrafted free agent and Heisman runner-up finalist quarterback Diego Pavia to a 3-year deal. Head coach Jesse Minter, he said earlier this week that he's ready to give Pavia a quote-unquote clean slate in Baltimore. It's
what
baffling.
Does that mean, first of all?
Yeah, first of all, let's start with why Pavia didn't get drafted, because I think that I think we all know that the reason Pavia didn't get drafted is probably an attitude thing as opposed to a skill thing. I think Diego Pavia showed at the combine, and some folks are like, he lacked zip on the ball. Look, we sat at the combine. I'm going to tell you right now, he looked just fine at the combine. He missed one throw. He missed one throw. And after that, he was hitting everything in sight. I mean, he was hitting everything. His footwork was fine. His arm was fine. Everybody's saying, he lacks zip on the ball. I'm like, why? Because he has touch? Because he's not fucking throwing darts? Like the guy didn't need to fucking throw everything he had into a pass here. He has good touch on the ball. That's what it was. And a lot of those passes that you're throwing and a lot of those routes you're throwing at the combine are based on you having good touch on the ball. He did a really good job at the combine. I saw something entirely different at the combine than what other people saw at the combine and what a lot of other people saw. I thought Diego Pavia was excellent at the NFL combine. I thought he did well at the Senior Bowl. I liked Diego Pavia. I liked him during the season. He was a guy that we've talked about ad nauseum. It's baffling to me that teams that, especially quarterback needy teams, that saw this man play, balked on him. And it's baffling to me that, I mean, and I get it. Like there's a size thing going on there, or whatever the case may be. Listen, to me, he's better than Cade Klubnik. And Cade Klubnik got selected by the Jets to go ahead and sit behind Geno Smith. He's probably better than Drew Aller, and Drew Aller is now sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. He's better than certain quarterbacks that went in this draft. I think he's better than Taylor Green. I think he's better than there are quarterbacks out there that it's like some of these guys shouldn't have even been drafted. There was a guy that got drafted. And he's not a quarterback, but there's a guy that got drafted that's never played American football in his life that got drafted. And Diego Pavia was sitting at home. What are we doing?
I think I have an idea. I have an idea of why else Diego Pavia did not get drafted, and it's probably due to his size.
Yep.
So, and at the end of the day, I think that's why the guy that never played football in his life got drafted, because he still had a prototypical NFL build.
Yeah, but let's also recall or talk about the attitude too. We can't ignore it. Diego Pavia's attitude problem. Flipping the bird at the Heisman Trophy and the whole. The jealousy of Fernando Mendoza situation. The whole. Yeah,
you can't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah, the whole. Fuck the Hoosiers or fuck Indiana or whatever it was he threw out there. And, this stuff that he was throwing out there where he was essentially being a D-bag. I mean, that's what he was doing. He was being an asshole. And let's just call it what it is. He really was. So to me, that's probably the main reason why he didn't get drafted, he really talked all this smack about, hey, let's talk. I'm going to talk about, how Fernando Mendoza didn't deserve to be the Heisman Trophy winner. I'm going to talk about how this guy didn't deserve to be this and how I deserve to be the Heisman Trophy winner. And I'm going to say this and just shut up and play the game. If he had just done that, we'd probably be having a different conversation about Diego Pavia and where he got drafted. The lack of humility there, I think, is probably the biggest issue when it came to Pavia. And I like Diego Pavia. We still think he's a great player, super talented, but
some competitive. You do want to have somebody that has that competitive fire.
Yeah.
You kind of reminds me of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Obviously I fell in love with it when Vanderbilt beat Alabama at home, for the first time in 40 years, and the way that he led that comeback and the way that he buried, like he basically runs up the gut and lowers the boom and just buried a defensive player on the way to the end zone. So you like I like his style of play, and like you said, touch on the ball, has good mechanics, and it's good. It's good on Jesse Minter looking at the situation and going, okay, I know talent when I see it. So I'm gonna take a note of this off the field antics and this attitude, and it's coachable. Yeah, I'm gonna coach this kid up, and I'm gonna turn him into a star.
Yeah, I'm going to reel him in here, and I think that's the smart thing for Jesse Minter to do. There's a lot of talent there. There really is, and I think that that's the smart play for them. Mm-hmm. Speaking of talent, let's talk about our reigning defending MVP. Let's talk about Matt Stafford. The Rams and Matt Stafford have made progress on contract talks, but there's no deadline for getting something done, says General Manager Les Snead. Snead has added that he doesn't expect, quote unquote, any drama regarding negotiations. And then in the meantime, when it comes to the Rams, backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent currently, but is reportedly wanted back by the Rams. The Rams aren't rushing. Yeah, the Rams aren't rushing the decision as he contemplates potentially retiring. If you recall, they did draft Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft. So the Rams quarterback situation getting a little hairy over here. Stafford obviously is going to be back for the 2026 season. We heard Sean McVay say, yay, this is Matt's team. He's not going anywhere. But, do you think Jimmy G comes back? I think we'll start there. And then we'll roll into, how long do you think that Matt Stafford's going to be getting extensions? How long of an extension do you think Matt Stafford's going to get? And how long is it going to be until Ty Simpson winds up seeing the field and being the guy? Alex, where are you at?
Well, there's one more question I want to ask on top of that. How much longer until Matt Stafford gets Tommy John surgery? Bang, bingo card. But it's been a running gag on this show for the last 4 or 5 years at least. Yeah. So we got to sneak that in there. Jimmy G, the Rams don't need him. I'm just going to flat out say it. In my opinion, the Rams don't need him. Let him ride off into the sunset. I'm not sure why the Rams are interested in getting him back. You drafted Ty Simpson. You still have Stetson Bennett, sitting in the quarterback room. So he's sat behind Matthew Stafford. He knows a couple of things. I don't think Stetson Bennett's your guy at backup, not necessarily, but at the same time, you already have 3 decent quarterbacks. You have a Hall of Fame level quarterback. You've got your quarterback of the future in Ty Simpson, and you got a decent QB3 in Stetson Bennett. You don't need Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is needed. And you want to talk about a guy who's just been making money. Yeah, basically being a clipboard guy for the last 3-4 years. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo has just been raking in dough for a couple of years, just being the clipboard guy. I'm like, oh, okay, this is entertaining. And then his former team is making moves as well. The 49ers. First and foremost, the Niners go out in the middle of the draft. They went out and traded linebacker D. Winters to the Cowboys for pick 152 in the 2026 draft. They packaged 152 and 58 to get pick 70 and 107. Now get this. So they deal D. Winters, they take the picks, package them, send them away, and then they go out and they end up getting edge rusher, get this, Romello Height and defensive tackle Grayson Halton. Talk about playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers, because the San Francisco 49ers made great moves. I mean, it's like they took these picks, they put them into a jar and they shook it up, and then they, it's like a boggle. They're playing boggle, and they just said, hey, let's deal. And they get Grayson Halton and Romello Height out of it after dealing them away. But, man, great moves. And then on top of it, to add to it, D. Winters, the linebacker goes to the Cowboys. So the Cowboys get their replacement for Logan Wilson. Man, I love this. This is phenomenal. The really good for both teams, it turns out. And, both teams improve in big ways. The Niners go younger. They fill 2 slots. We really loved both those guys, Romello Height and Grayson Halton. I think those are excellent fits for the Niners. And then you go over and you talk about D. Winters going to the Cowboys. Excellent fit for what they need. Fills a hole for them. And then also helps their defense in a monumental way because it's frickin' D. Winters. This is just great for all sides, right?
Yep, everybody's happy. And, the Niners are they've always been one of the craftiest and one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? But, best organizations in football as far as, plotting out trade moves. I think it's going to hit me in the face, one of these minutes. But I'll tell you what, this was a really great trade. I mean, and again, Niners are playing chess. How dare I say 3D chess? They're really, they're a shifty organization, but in a good way.
Navigating the cap really well as well. I mean, they're doing everything right. And you want to talk about 3D chess? Well, if that's 3D chess, they're playing 3D battle chess because the Niners go out and sign offensive tackle Trent Williams to a 2-year, $50 million extension. So they get basically the best offensive tackle in all of football.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and they go and get him on $25 million per year, which is way below market value. So, cha-ching, baby. They go out and get him, and he is... he's ready to rock.
That right there is you're basically investing in your quarterback's future.
Yeah.
If you do not have Trent Williams on your line, you're not winning football games. Not in that division.
Unless you're going to go out and find an offensive tackle in the draft, but you're going to have to develop somebody, and you better have a guy that's coming out of the draft that is a, once in a lifetime type of talent. That's just kind of what that is. The Niners are still attempting to trade wide receiver Brandon Ayuk as well after the draft. They went out and drafted Dazon Stribling, 33rd overall in the 2026 draft. So Stribling's a really good player. I think he actually is going to wind up being the wide receiver 2 behind Mike Evans. I think he's better than Ricky Pearsall. And I think Ricky Pearsall is kind of cooked, if I'm being honest with you. I think the Pearsall project just hasn't worked out in a way that everybody kind of expected it to.
I mean, poor fella got shot in the chest and he still made it into the league. So good on him. But like you said, I'm wondering what they can get for Ayuk, and is Ayuk cooked? Because we saw what happened, after that monumental season in 23 when they made it to the Super Bowl. And then after that, he was late for camp, and then he got hurt, and now it's like he's a shell of his former self. He's almost damaged goods.
Yeah, there's an attitude problem there, a major attitude problem. So I want to see what happens with him. Moving forward, speaking of receivers getting signed, let's go ahead and talk about the Cowboys signing wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling to a 1-year deal. MVS getting signed, the journeyman. I mean, he keeps popping up in the league, and here we are again.
Yep. I mean, good on them. It's honest to goodness, he's the guy that caught the pass in the Super Bowl to put the Chiefs right over the top. And it's like when you need a play, when he's there, it's the rare MVS sighting, and but this is a good pickup for the Cowboys.
This comes at the weirdest time, but the Cowboys make another good signing. They go out and sign kicker Brandon Aubrey to a 4-year, $28 million extension. And they go out and make him the largest paid kicker in NFL history, and rightfully so. He's other than maybe one other kicker, I would argue that Aubrey's got the biggest leg in football. I mean,
Yep.
he's been accurate.
60 yards, no problem.
Yeah, the guy's a stud. We love him. He's always consistently one of the top scoring kickers in the game. I think this is just brilliant. Good for the Cowboys getting Brandon Aubrey. They get him on $7 million per year. Just makes a lot of sense, right?
He's worth every penny.
Yeah. I mean, best kicker in football. Would you say at this current stage?
Yes, at this current stage, for a long time, Justin Tucker was that the best kicker in football. Now it's Brandon Aubrey, and it's not even close.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the Colts. The Colts doing something interesting. They go on to decline the 5th-year option on quarterback Anthony Richardson. I am not sold on the Anthony Richardson train, and I was never sold on him. And
the train has jumped the tracks.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him. I'm not sold. Boots was always an Anthony Richardson guy. And I could never get behind him. I didn't like the throwing mechanics. He was always injury prone. The whole I'm too tired to be on the field thing. It was too much for me. I can't get behind him. Anthony Richardson, he's one of the biggest Colts draft busts of all time, I would argue at this juncture. I mean, you drafted him 3rd overall. And I'm not surprised that the 5th-year option hasn't been picked up.
We saw the writing on the wall. I mean, you saw it. I waited I was waiting and seeing what would happen. You already saw it.
Yeah.
And then I think the thing that broke me was when he went to the sideline, "Yo, dog, I'm tired." It's like, excuse me, you're in the National Football League. You don't get tired. When you're tired, you play harder than you were playing when you were okay, and that's what champions are made of. I mean,
that's it. Yeah, I mean, you're tired. Okay, then you better find your 19th win and get your ass back out there. That's just how it's going. But absolutely, I agree with you. So he loses out on his spot. It seems like Daniel Jones has officially won the starting job permanently there.
So those are words I think we would have never said, but he was the starting quarterback for the New York Giants. So what do we know?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, what the hell do we know at that point?
Will we see Indiana Jones next year, like the good Daniel Jones?
I don't think so.
I hope so, but I think you're right. I think he was a one-trick pony.
Yeah, I think he's about done. It was one episode of Daniel Jones, and that's all we really got. Elsewhere around that division, let's talk about the Titans picking up the 5th-year option on 2023 first-round draft pick, offensive tackle Peter Skoronski. I actually really, really like this pickup. I think Pete Skoronski is a great offensive tackle. He's a great run blocker. I really love the fact that they picked up this option. That's exactly what they needed to do. Really smart move by the Titans here, getting him on that 5th-year option.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and for good reason. I mean, you have Cam Ward back there. This is year 2 or 3 for Cam Ward, and you need somebody to protect him.
Yeah.
And this is the guy to do it. One of the guys to do it. You definitely need a left tackle to help watch his blind side. But overall, I mean, this is what you need right here.
Absolutely. Another guy getting his 5th-year option picked up, the Bucks. They go out and pick up the 5th-year option on 2023 first-round pick Kalijah Cansey. Nice defensive player there. So they go out and they pick up the 5th-year option on him. Again, another really smart move by the Bucks. They shore up that front 7. I'm here for it. It's exactly what you need to do. You shore up your front 7. And then the Bucks making other moves, though. They go out and first of all, let's talk about a retirement. First, former Bucks and Chiefs offensive tackle Donovan Smith. He won a Super Bowl with both those teams, with the Bucks and the Chiefs. He retires after 9 seasons. He had 8 seasons with the Bucks. So, sad to see him go, but there's an applause for him. Just for.
And we've come to the end of the road.
It's terrible. It's so bad.
Donovan had to let go. No more Super Bowls, no more Pro Bowls, only ice cream bowls. Oh, happy retirement.
Well, we had another retirement. Safety Justin Simmons retired as well after 9 seasons, which I was actually very surprised by. Played for the Broncos for several years. Played with the Atlanta Falcons. Justin Simmons is one of the better safeties that's been around for like the last decade. So for him to retire, I was like, whoa, that one was out of nowhere. You don't have to sing again. But
I hadn't thought of it until just now, but I won't.
Oh God! But, that one was one of the more surprising retirements because he still played at a really high level to Justin Simmons. So I'm a little surprised by that. But he winds up retiring. So happy retirement to Justin Simmons as well. Continuing on with the Bucs have officially entered contract negotiations with quarterback Baker Mayfield to try and lock him down long term. Do you think Baker Mayfield is going to get a contract that makes him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history? Do you think that's coming? No,
not the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. No, but I will say they'd better get a deal done that'll make him happy.
Yeah.
Because I think Baker Mayfield fits the best with this Buccaneers team. Mm-hmm. He's the competitor they've been looking for. We thought he was going to be it in Cleveland. We thought he was going to be it in Los Angeles with the Rams. But no, I think that Tampa Bay is his home. I think Tampa Bay, he has a connection to the team. He has a connection to the organization. Yeah. So I'm sure he's anxious to, get a deal done so he can continue playing. But highest in the league, highest in league history.
Listen,
I have my doubts.
The salary cap keeps rising, and with the rising salary cap, it just seems like these contracts they get signed, and it may not even be based on him being the best quarterback. Is he Mahomes? Is he, is he one of these top guys? Is he Josh Allen? Is he Lamar Jackson? I don't know. I don't think so. But based on where the salary cap is going, a lot of these guys that may not be a top guy. For example, Jared Goff. Jared Goff's a great example. He's a guy that's right now, you look at his cap number right now and the amount that he's getting paid. Is he the best quarterback in the league? Probably not. But is he really, really good? Sure. He's a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. Is he worth being paid as the best quarterback in the NFL? I don't know. But you saw how much he wound up getting paid at the time based on where the salary cap was headed. And I think that says a lot when it comes to, hell, look at what Daniel Jones just got paid, for Christ's sake. It says a lot. So I'm wondering where Baker Mayfield's going to get paid. I could see him getting paid very close to the highest amount. And also for the Bucs, they go out and re-sign running back Sean Tucker to a 1-year deal. I actually really like that signing. He's a really solid RB3. That's exactly what they need. And really, he's kind of technically their RB2, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think the Bucs made a move at the running back position in this draft. No, they didn't.
Yeah, but I don't think so. No, I don't think they did. They still have Bucky Irving. They still have Josh Williams, Owen Wright, and Michael Wiley. So, and Kenneth, they picked up Kenneth Gainwell too. So I'm like,
Gainwell would probably be the RB2 there. Tucker will probably be the RB3. But what I will say about Tucker is when he had to pick up as the RB3 and become the RB1 for a day or whatever the case may be, he did quite well. Well. You want to talk a guy that people are like, if you're a dynasty owner out there, Yeah, you should probably have him on your roster if you're going to have, the Buccaneers running back room. You should probably have him on your roster. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at there with him. But let's talk a little bit more about some of these signings that have gone on. Let's talk about the Saints. They go out and sign linebacker Anthony Jennings to a 1-year deal. Solid depth piece. Is he going to start? I don't know if he's going to start, but solid depth piece there. Not mad at that one at all. The Seahawks go out and sign tight end Harrison Bryant to a 1-year deal. I like that signing. That's a really solid depth piece there. The Giants, they go out and sign defensive tackle Shelby Harris to a 1-year deal. Again, really solid depth piece. Yeah, I get it. You just lost Dexter Lawrence. So, they go out and get a really solid depth piece there for the Giants. And if we look at how the Giants drafted, they got Arvell Reese. They did go out and get Bobby Jamison Travis out of Auburn in the draft. So, that is a possibility that he could wind up filling in. But Shelby Harris could be the guy that drops into that defensive tackle situation. So that becomes an interesting little situation for the New York Giants. So we got some stuff going on there. Also, the Raiders, they go out and cut. This is interesting to me. They cut former Commanders 2021 first-round pick linebacker Jamin Davis after just one season with the team. Jamin Davis is one of those guys that just has not panned out. Former first-round pick, that dreaded term that we talk about, right? We always talk about, former first-round pick. But, man, this guy, he was with the Commanders, couldn't manage to stay a starter, winds up getting dumped, goes to the Raiders, gets picked up by the Raiders. Man, you can't make it on the Raiders? What are we doing here?
Yeah, something's wrong. If you can't get your feet, get on your 2 feet with a team that's as dysfunctional as the Vegas Raiders, no disrespect, but maybe it's a you problem.
Yeah, there's a problem there. I don't understand. You're a former first-round pick, and I like Jamin Davis. I liked him a lot coming out of. I was like, man, this guy, he could be good. He could be all right. And then
is this Josh Rosen all over again?
Yeah, man, I don't know, maybe, but even Boots was like, man, I like Jamin Davis. We were talking about, man, that's a good pick. We were hyped about Jamin Davis, and he has not been able to stick anywhere. I just don't get it. Go to New Orleans or something.
Keep trying, trying, playa. Because, he has to get his legs somewhere. If you're an NFL player worth your salt, there has to be a team out there that can get you on your 2 feet and turn you into an effective, an effective player.
Saints are going to try and make an effective player out of another Raiders player. The Raiders trade former 2023 first-round pick. He was 7th overall. Defensive end Tyree Wilson to the Saints. They did this in the middle of the draft. For the 150th overall pick in the 2026 draft, the Saints, they went and declined picking up Wilson's 5th-year option because he was a first-round pick, so they don't have to pick up his 5th-year option if they don't want to. They reserve that option now. And then the Raiders used the pick to select Arizona's safety Dalton Johnson with the 150th overall pick. So, first of all, the Raiders go out and get themselves a safety. The Saints, they go out and get themselves a defensive end, which I don't even know if it's it's a strange situation because it's is this a safety or a defensive end that you didn't even want? Are you making this a prove it deal at this point? What are we doing? I don't understand.
Yeah. Why would you trade that far down too?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like they took it. They're making it a prove it deal for the 1 year. And if he does well, they're going to give him an extension. But and they don't want to get locked in to picking up the 5th-year option. Because if they do, then they're locked into having to pay him that amount of money. And maybe he sucks at that point. But what if he turns out to be really good? What if it turned out to be a Raider problem? Because then if it's a Raider problem,
yeah, it's a Raiders problem. Then now it's okay, now that he's with us, he's not with a team that sucks. Maybe we can make something out of him.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I
And it
don't
was
know
a
that
wacky draft. I don't think I remember an NFL draft quite as trade heavy as this one.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was crazy. There was a lot going on, especially like end of the first round. It was crazy, but this one, man, it was wild. Just a wild draft.
I have never seen the Buffalo Bills trade so often and have traded themselves all the way out of the first round.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like, why?
Yeah, why is the right thing, but the Bills did make some other moves. They go out and, first of all, GM Brandon Beane says that the team is not interested in trading away wide receiver Keon Coleman. He says his best year has yet to come, and then they went out and drafted UConn wide receiver Skylar Bell in the 4th round at 125th overall.
Which that's a steal.
Yep, I think Skylar Bell is better than Keon Coleman. I think Skylar
Bell. That's trouble for Keon Coleman. What did we say? What did we say last when he got drafted? He was like, "Well, the Bills have no wide receiver room. It's Keon Coleman and everybody else." And Keon Coleman, as it turns out, ain't that good.
No, he's not. And then so now they have Keon Coleman, and but now they have DJ Moore, right? I mean. You went and made all these moves.
DJ Moore's taking that wide receiver 1 spot.
Easily. The wide receiver 1 there. I mean, so if you look at the rest of their situation, I mean, I think Skylar Bell winds up being wide receiver 3. I think Keon Coleman is not long for this world. They're not going to pick up his 5th-year option, and they're going to let him walk. I think that's what's going to happen after this season, but maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just my opinion here. Moving forward, let's talk about the Bengals. They declined to pick up the 5th-year option on defensive end Myles Murphy. He was a former 2023 first-round pick. If you recall, there was a ton of hype surrounding Myles Murphy. I remember a ton of hype surrounding Myles Murphy in that 2023 draft. Just hasn't panned out. He hasn't been good. And so Myles Murphy goes out the door. They don't pick up his 5th-year option. They're going to let him play out this last year of his contract, and he's gone, done for. I like Myles Murphy. I just don't think he fit with what the Bengals were doing at any juncture in time. I think Myles Murphy is going to be a much better fit elsewhere. I don't think he's going to be a fit with like the Raiders or anything. But if you take a guy as talented as Myles Murphy and you put him with the Jags, or if you put him with the Saints, or if you put him with the Dolphins, I think he's going to have a career resurgence. Maybe the Buccaneers. That might be a good spot for him. A place where he's going to have a career resurgence. Teams are sleeping on Myles Murphy. I think there's a real opportunity to help him be better than what we've seen in the Cincinnati system. The Cincinnati Bengals have not known what the hell they're doing defensively for quite some time. Also, let's talk about the Texans. They go out and sign linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair to a 3-year, $54 million extension. It's $18 million per year. Smart move, smart signing, makes a ton of sense for the Texans. They go out and get their guy signed to a deal. Brilliant. I'm totally here for it.
Yep, me too. Okay, I keep confusing him with a former Broncos player who might still be with the team, but in the last 2 years he was with Houston. Azeez Al-Shaair was with Houston.
Yep. Yes. Yep. With Houston. Yep.
Yep. He was he had like 173 total tackles. He had 3 forced fumbles and fumble recovery. 2 interceptions. So he's been an effective player for the Houston Texans. And he spent his first 4 years with the Niners. Had a brief stint with Tennessee. But overall, I think this is a smart move. You keep that Texans defense humming. Texans have one of the better defenses in all of football. And of course you got Will Anderson there. You got Danielle Hunter. If you only held on to Laramie Tunsil, we'd be having a much different conversation.
Well, Laramie Tunsil, I mean, to protect C.J. Stroud, absolutely. If you held on to Tunsil, I mean, we'd be having a different conversation about the Houston Texans as a whole. But I mean, you got Daniil Hunter, like you said, I mean, you got Will Anderson, you got Derek Stingley over there. Now you got Azeez Al-Shaair returning. I mean, that defense is what keeps you rolling. I love what the Texans are doing over here. It's a smart move, and we're going to be talking about their draft shortly here because the Houston Texans, man, that team has shaped up to be one of the better teams around the league, and man, they're just showing no signs of slowing down. They got themselves a steal in the second round. I mean, it's just looking at some of the players that they've gotten. Goodness gracious. We'll be talking about their draft shortly. As for the Panthers, former second-round pick running back Jonathan Brooks, he has been officially cleared from his latest knee injury, and he'll be good to go for training camp, they're saying. Could we see Jonathan Brooks? Could we see Jonathan Brooks?
Yes. I think Carolina Panthers fans better hope so, because there was a lot of hype out around this kid, and then of course he tore his ACL or had that leg injury. If it wasn't an ACL, I don't recall what it is off the top of my head, but we just know he was on the shelf for the rest of the year. And what are the two main commandments? What are the two main commandments we preach here on the Outside Blitz? Availability and reliability.
Yep.
And they both took a major hit last year, so let's just hope he can turn things around this year.
Yeah, 2 years straight of not having him. I mean, it's been rough for Carolina and a lot of knee injuries, and I'd be concerned about lower body injuries moving forward if it was me. Free agent wide receiver Chase Claypool is attending the Packers rookie mini camp as a way to try out for the team. Interesting that Chase Claypool is still floating around the league. Got an attitude problem. I wouldn't touch him with the 10-foot pole, would you?
No, I mean, I see the name and I'm just like, we have other options.
Yeah, there's some eye rolling that goes on there every time we mention Chase Claypool on this show. Steel Twins Andy, dude, ew. that's where I'm at. A lot of
when the package Andrew Steele says ew, we got a problem.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Also, Falcons edge rusher James Pierce. He has entered an intervention program. If you recall, he had all of those felony charges from running from police and assaulting police and whatever else. I think it was evading police, and I just all this craziness that went on.
Had a rap sheet as long as a CVS receipt.
Yeah, I mean, it was just nuts. I mean, I don't know what in the hell. But the good news for him is he could have all his charges dropped if the conditions are met. That's exactly what it is. He could have all of his charges dropped if the conditions are met of the intervention program. So James Pierce, we could see him back in a Falcons uniform. Do you think that the commissioner is going to drop a suspension on him, or do you think that if all these charges get dropped, they're just going to let things go and move forward?
Well, it depends on how well he does in his rehab. I think the Falcons organization is offering this man a chance to get right. And I think everybody deserves a chance to get right. I mean, there are some situations where that doesn't apply. See Ray Rice, but in this case, give him a shot. If he does well in his rehab, if he does what is told of him, then okay. If the charges get dropped and it's like, all right, we're satisfied that he's trying to turn his life around. We're not going to suspend him. Let's get him out on the field and see what happens. But keep an eye on him.
Yeah, I would be watching that. And last but not least, the Browns, they broke ground Thursday on a $2.4 billion domed stadium set to open in Brook Park in 2029.
Hashtag glamping.
Yeah, I was about to go there. Glamping. So the Cleveland Browns are going glamping. So I hope the Browns folks are ready. So another dome stadium, and Boots is just we're gonna talk about it next week, and I'm sure Boots is gonna have a brain aneurysm when we talk about it. But moving into the draft. We got 16 teams to cover for the AFC. I want to jump into those because we got draft grades to give these teams. We're going to be starting out with the Baltimore Ravens here. Man, I got to tell you, the Baltimore Ravens, they really had themselves a pretty darn nice draft. I mean, best picks. I mean, like, first of all, their number one pick was Vega Ione. I thought that was fantastic. For them to end up with Zion Young falling to them in the second round, which I didn't think was going to happen. They get Zion Young. They walk out with two, not one, but two really good receivers, Jacoby Lane, and they get old Waffle House Elijah Surratt, so I'm here for that. They wind up with Matthew Hibner, which was a little bit of a surprise pick out of SMU. You know, it was a surprise pick to me, but they get their guy, right? They get Rashawn Benny, which I really liked out of Michigan. I think that was a really good selection. They had themselves a nice draft. I'm not mad at it. The one that kind of caught me off guard that I really didn't think was necessary was the Josh Cuevas pick out of Alabama. It just didn't really seem like it was fully necessary. But I mean, ultimately,
you already have a tight end in Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
You know, how much more tread do you have on Mark Andrews' tires? Because he's pretty up there. You know, you picked up Matthew Hibner. Sometimes you go out there and get your guy, even though there were better tight ends on the board, you know, at that time. See Justin Joey. Personal preference.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about him in a minute.
Yep.
But at the same, so when you take a look at what they've had, Josh Cuevas was a bit of a reach, you know, maybe we'll be proven wrong, but at the same time, we're just sitting there thinking, maybe not.
And, you know, I don't even think Cuevas was so much of a reach as much as it was just like unnecessary.
Right.
You're there in the fifth round. You just drafted a tight end. Did you really need him? What was it necessary? And I'm sure if I looked at what was on the board, it would have been like, man, this was not. This wasn't necessary. This wasn't the pick to make. But at the end of the day, if I was grading the Baltimore Ravens draft, just looking it over, I'm going to give this a solid B. I thought they had a really good draft. I give this a B. Alex, what say you?
I'm in lockstep with you. This is a B performance in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with that. Next up, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. Man, the Bills, another one, had a really nice draft. TJ Parker in the first round, they go out and get an edge rusher, and then they go out and look, this one was brilliant to me. I thought they did a really good job filling all of the holes that they had on their team. I thought they did a really good job taking care of team need in this draft. TJ Parker, rock solid edge rusher. They get him, and it's not even a first round pick because they didn't have a first round pick. They get him in the third pick of the second round. And then Igbinosun out of Ohio State, that's a rock solid corner, good man coverage corner. They get him with the 30th pick in the second round. So, I mean, back into the second round, they wind up getting him. They get Skylar Bell at the wide receiver spot. We talked about it earlier. The steal, they had a couple of steals. First of all, you get Caleb Elarmzor out of TCU in the fourth round, back into the fourth round, which we were in love with. I was like, man, what a steal. Then you go out and get Jalen Kilgore, who was the best safety on the board. The Vikings balked on him. He went about 2 rounds later than he should have gone. And then you wind up with Zane Durant in the fifth as well, about maybe 14 picks later. And that was a compensation pick from Detroit. So you get Zane Durant, who had himself a great combine. We love Durant. And then you get Toriano Pride in the 7th round, beginning of the 7th round.
That's just mind-blowing to me.
This draft wasn't even fair. I mean, like, if you look at the way that the Buffalo Bills drafted, they did a great job. To me, this screams like A-. Like I mean, this is an A-. Actually, you know what? It's pushing A. Like it might be an A, man. I'm gonna call it about an A- though. I'm I'm going to try and be as critical as possible. I'm going to call it an A minus.
No, I'm in lockstep with you here. I mean, this was one of the best drafts, that we've seen. And, our friend Ray Collins was kind of sweating a little bit, but when they called Toriano Pride's number, we were like, okay, there it is. Caleb Elamzor was a steal. The guy Jalen Kilgore, Zane Durant. When Toriano Pride popped up, because that was a guy I was hyped about at the combine. And to get a player of that caliber in the 7th round, again, that late. I mean, first of all, why the heck did he drop so far? A, B, superb awareness by the Buffalo Bills in that situation.
Yeah, definitely, I was all about it. I would put this in the A range. For Buffalo. Moving into the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk about them. Cassius Howell in 9th pick of the 2nd round. That's a sleeper. Great pick. Yeah, there's a sleeper, and it's a great pick. But I think their best pick of this draft, honestly, is probably Connor Lew out of Auburn. I thought that was like the steal of a pick here, the center. He fell, the only reason he fell is because of an ACL injury. He had that, I think it was in October. But look, this guy, he was rock solid. They needed a center. They needed interior offensive line. They got to protect Joe Burrow. Connor Lew's great, and I think he's going to be a star in this league. Had he not had the ACL issue, you're probably talking about him 2nd or 3rd round. So for them to get him like a few rounds later there, awesome. I also really like the Jack Endries pick, but they did have some other things that they needed to do. I know they had sort of a lack of draft capital. But there was better things they could have done at certain points. I'm not overly crazy about it. I like the Howell pick. I like the Lou pick. I like the Endries pick. If I really want to, I would probably call this maybe like a C+. I'm not super crazy about it, but I'm definitely not mad at it.
No, this is about C+ territory. And again, they didn't fill all of their team needs. In fact, a lot of their team needs still went unmet, according to ESPN here. I mean, you can see it on screen in my stream. You could see it up here. Only the corner and the wide receiver got picked up. But really, do you honest to goodness need a wide receiver? I mean, yes, you don't have the wide receiver 3 from Cincinnati who went to Tyler Boyd. You don't have Tyler Boyd anymore. He went to Tennessee, but you still have T. Higgins. But you got a big question mark over his head too, So you got Jamar Chase, obviously, but but if you don't have an offensive line to protect Joe Burrow, how is he going to get the ball to him? Yeah. So you need an offensive tackle. You need somebody to protect Joe Burrow's blind side, and you don't have that.
Yeah, I mean they do have Orlando Brown over there, but I mean, like they do need some offensive line help. They need interior offensive line. They do need an offensive tackle. I mean, and they did kind of fix sort of some of the interior offensive line, but there were other needs. And why did you pick up a second center? Why is Brian Parker necessary out of Duke? Why was that necessary? I mean, unless you're going to kick him to guard. That's
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it just sometimes I think it just some of these teams they just see interior offensive lineman, he played center so he must be able to play guard, and sometimes that is the case, but other times it's not. So right. There's a lot of questions there. Moving into the Cleveland Browns, you want to talk about a team that had a really, really, really good draft? Cleveland had a really damn good draft. Spencer Fano, and here's what's interesting about this. The Cleveland Browns, if you look at their team needs, it only says that they filled 3 of their team needs, but they actually filled 4, and here's why. Spencer Fano, as their first round pick, even though he's listed as an offensive tackle, a lot of people are saying that he's probably going to get kicked into guard. A lot of folks are saying this guy is offensive tackle, but we'll just call him offensive lineman in general. And that's kind of what he is. He's just a
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, this big, mean, nasty offensive lineman. So he's probably going to get kicked into guard, and that's probably why they picked up Austin Barber, and that's also probably why they picked up Parker Brailsford. So they went out and they fixed a lot of their offensive line situation. with those three selections. So I'm not mad at that. They go out and they get a safety. They needed DBs. They get themselves a safety. They needed receivers. They didn't get one. They got two. Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston. I think Jerry Jeudy only had about 630 yards last year. So, I mean, they go out and they do the right thing, and they get themselves a rock-solid receiver core. And if you look at the Concepcion, I'll be honest with you, Concepcion makes me a little nervous. Denzel Boston, I think, is going to beat out Concepcion as the wide receiver one there. But I think that it's a 1-2 punch. They're going to be great. But getting Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I think they did a great job there. I like this draft. Give me a solid A- on this one as well.
Yeah, and as far as Jerry Jeudy is concerned, he only did get 602 yards of passing offense last year. So, yeah, if you're sitting here, contemplating, I think we might see the Cleveland Browns trade away Jerry Jeudy. Whether it's before the trade deadline or next year before the draft, or during the draft, who knows? But but Denzel Boston, bootleg B team, stand up.
Yeah.
What does Boots call him? The Equalizer?
Oh, the Equalizer. That's right. The Equalizer, Denzel Boston.
We might be wrong, Boots. If you're listening to this, we apologize.
Yeah,
but still, Concepcion's one of my guys. One of my sleepers. I think that was a solid pick. I would definitely.
The Browns did the right thing, doubling down. I think that's just smart. They needed to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, definitely A- for me.
Yep. Moving into the Denver Broncos here, they didn't have a first or second round pick. They go into the third round, a second pick of the third round. I didn't really like their first pick of the night. Tyler Onyedum, I out of Texas A&M. I wasn't a huge fan. The defensive tackle, I understood that they had a need there. My favorite picks of theirs, I liked Jonah Coleman out of Washington. I think he's kind of the big bruiser type of back that they needed. They have RJ Harvey already. J.K. Dobbins is a little injury prone. You still have, and then you go out and get Jonah Coleman and you create this thunder and lightning situation, which I think is really smart with him and RJ Harvey. But then they double down on the tight end position. Evan Ingram's getting older, right? And you need good tight ends. First of all, you get Justin Joly out of NC State, who we love. I mean, I love it. And you needed a pass-catching tight end. And then you get Dallin Bentley, who just is coming off of a breakout year as well. Big-bodied guy, 6'4", 253. Joly, 6'3", 241. So you get big-bodied, pass-catching tight ends that can block, that can catch, that can run routes. This is beautiful. I thought Denver did a really great job here just with what they had. It's not super pretty. It's not super sexy, but it's a solid draft. I'm honestly going to give us a B-. And the Jolie pick, obviously, in my heart of hearts, is just the best pick, right? But I thought both the tight end picks and the Jonah Coleman pick really made this draft phenomenal.
I'm just going to give it a B just because of Justin Joly and the fact that, the outside blitz is unofficially sponsoring him.
Yeah.
His family was great to meet at the combine. That's why we love going out there. It's like you never know who you're going to run into, and you never know what diamonds you're going to pick up. So if we take I'm going to go ahead and read this paragraph on the pre-draft analysis on ESPN. So just so that you know that anywhere can go. Jolie has the short area quickness and suddenness to separate from defenders. He has very good foot fluidity with balance and body control to go along with it. Absolutely. After the catch, Jolie isn't usually brought down by first contact and will pick up yards after the catch. What do we love around here? Yards after the catch. So, we saw this, and when we saw him at the combine, the way he moved, the way he had control in his drills, he was catching the balls left and right. Plus, he was, did really good blocking. He grabbed that blocking sled and he was shoving it like halfway down the field. Like he was going to take that thing home with him. So, we're super happy for, Justin and his family. Rob Jolie is a fan of the show. His father, if you happen to be listening, shout out. And we'll we'll be keeping in touch with you. We'll see if we're still waiting on that interview.
Absolutely. We would love to have Justin on the show if we could. I would love that. It would be a very, very entertaining time. We would love to have him. We've been huge fans ever since we kind of laid eyes on him at the combine. It's like, wow, what a prospect. I'm excited to see what he does in Denver. I know Alex is as well. This is going to be an exciting time. Let's move forward into the Houston Texans. Let's jump into Kalen Rutledge, man. Look, this dude for the Houston Texans, they needed an offensive guard. They got an offensive guard. One of the best pass blocking offensive guards in this entire draft. Dude's a monster. Big time run blocker. That's what they like. Good pass blocker. I'm totally here for it.
Big boy, real big boy. 6'4", 316.
Yeah, and then they followed up getting the guy who was honestly, he fell to the second round out of nowhere, but he was arguably the best defensive tackle on the board at the time. It was Caden McDonald out of Ohio State, the defensive tackle. Brilliant move. They get to pair him off with Anderson and with Hunter. I think that's brilliant. They get Marlon Klein out of Michigan as a tight end, which I'm totally here for. I think he fits what they do over there. Then they go down the fifth round. I think this was kind of the steal of their draft here. Kamari Ramsey in the fifth round, first pick of the fifth. They get themselves a rock solid safety with starting experience. I really liked Aiden Fisher, the linebacker out of Indiana. I thought was a steal as well in the seventh round. In the back end of the seventh round, mind you, 27th pick in the seventh round, they get Aiden Fisher. Great selection there. I really like what the Texans did here. They could probably have used a little bit more team need as opposed to just kind of taking some best available type stuff. I give it a solid B. Honestly, I'm kind of in the B range. I would have liked to see just a couple more things, but give me a solid B for the Houston Texans.
I'll go ahead and lean on B+. Again, they still have some team needs, and they may fix those in free agency. Who knows? Or they might, trade before the trade deadline. But the Houston Texans are in pretty good shape right now.
I agree. Another team that's in good shape, the Indianapolis Colts. You want to talk about a team that drafted extremely well. The Colts had a really good draft. Second round, 21st overall, C.J. Allen. I mean, it was their first pick. Obviously, they had given up their first-round picks to the Jets to go and get Sauce Gardner. C.J. Allen falls to them in all the way at the 21st pick of the second round. Allen was projected. He was the 18th overall prospect in this draft. So for him to fall this far, he's going to start right away. He's going to be a day one starter. Zaire Franklin isn't there anymore. So C.J. Allen's going to be a day one starter. I love this pick. He's an excellent fill-in. He's a run-stuffing type of linebacker. I'm here for it. Then they go out and get A.J. Halsey out of LSU, solid safety pickup. They fill that team need. They needed interior offensive lineman. They go get Jalen Farmer out of Kentucky, which I love. That's a really good pick. They get Bryce Betcher out of Oregon, the linebacker, who's probably my favorite pick out of the group. They get they get your sleeper guy, George Gums Jr., the Florida edge rusher. So they go and get him. He had himself a great combine, but their steal of the draft actually came right at the end. Seventh round, pick 38 in the seventh round. Deion Burks out of Oklahoma, out of freaking nowhere, gets picked up. How does a player of this caliber slide so far down? How is this player still on? If you follow the Outside Blitz on Twitter, I mean, you will have a video of the fabulous one himself going, Deion Burks is still on the board. It's like a 74th overall prospect falls all the way to like the final 5 picks. Like, how is that a thing? How does this possible? Yeah, a 7th round compensatory pick gets Deion Burks. Like, in what world are we living in that's going on? Like, it was just baffling. Just baffling.
Yeah, I mean, kudos for the Colts for recognizing the situation, because Michael Pittman Jr. We don't know what's
He's
I
gone. He
keep
goes to the
forgetting if he's
Steelers.
right. So yeah, you lose Michael Pittman Jr. So you need a replacement of wide receiver anyway. Alec Pierce is going to look like he's going to step up as the wide receiver one. We saw great things from him last year. So yeah, you need wide receiver help, and by God, you got it in the 7th round.
Yeah, I mean, he was projected as a second, possibly early third round guy, and you get him in the 7th. I mean, that's a steal. Yeah, and every year we see something like that. So for the Colts to get everything that they needed, fill as many draft needs as they had, and to get Deion Burks in the 7th round, they got a lot of studs in this draft. Give me a rock solid A for the Indianapolis Colts. I thought they had a great draft.
I'd be tempted to give them an A+ just for the Deion Burks pick, but
Yeah.
A cooler head shall prevail. Yes, absolutely an A. Yeah, no question.
I could only imagine what they would have done if they had a first round pick. I could only imagine how that would have gone. Next up, let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They also did not have a first round pick. Nate Borkature, the tight end out of Texas A&M. I did not like that pick at all. I thought that their best picks were in the 3rd round. It was Albert Regis, 17th pick in the 3rd round, and they get Emmanuel Pregnon with the 24th pick in the 3rd round. I thought those were their best 2 picks. They also wound up getting Josh Cameron in the 6th round at the 10th pick of the 6th round. But a lot of the rest of their picks were just kind of meh to me. I really didn't I wasn't in love with what the Jags did in this draft. And this is one of those times where it's one of those strange Liam Cohen type drafts. Liam Cohen likes his guys. He sees the guys that he likes, and he's going to go and get his guys, and that's exactly what happened here. So I'm not going to be super critical, but for my taste and just kind of like the way I was seeing things fall and seeing who was available, I mean, outside of Regis and Pregnon, I really wasn't, and Cameron, I really wasn't sold on all the players that came out of this draft going to Jacksonville here. Honestly, give me a C-. I'm just kind of meh on this draft. I wasn't sold on this one. Alex, where are you at?
Yeah, I'd say C-. I mean, good on you getting Regis and Pregnon. We love both those guys in the combine. But yeah, I'm reading a lot of these names, and the question that keeps popping up in my mind is, who?
Yeah, there was nothing spectacular about that draft. Next up, let's talk about the Chiefs. Let's talk about Kansas City. Mansour Delane, 1st round. I love Mansour Delane. They needed a corner. They went and got the top corner in the draft class, and it was the best man coverage corner they could have gotten. They go out and get Peter Woods, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. I wasn't mad at that at all. That's actually a pretty good pick. And they also get our Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma, the edge rusher. They were crazy about him. They get Jaden Kennedy, the Oregon safety, in the 4th round with the 9th pick of the 4th round. I really like that. And look, you get Garrett Nussmeier in the 7th round. 43rd pick in the 7th round, you get Garrett Nussmeier. I believe that the Chiefs had themselves a really rock-solid draft. I'm not mad at this draft at all. B+ for me. I thought this was a really good draft for the Chiefs. Delane, Woods, Thomas, Kennedy, and then you get Nussmeier. And also, by the way, they got Emmett Johnson, who, look, I realize that they did go out and get Kenny there, but look, he gets hurt. Okay, I mean, Kenneth Walker gets hurt. So you have Emmett Johnson sitting behind him, and he's very similar of a runner to what Kenneth Walker is. It's a perfect comp. I was like, hey, that's great. So that's why I'm giving this a solid B+. I think they could have gotten maybe one more corner in this whole thing, but give me a solid B+.
Yeah, you definitely need to fill the hole that Trent McDuffie left behind when he went to the Rams. Both their corners, really. So yeah, you still need corner help, but the offseason is young. There could still be trades, there could still be free agency, but you get now. We're not sitting here and I'm not sitting here and saying Garrett Nussmeier is the heir apparent here, but at some point, the tread's going to, God forbid. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to probably be around the league for at least 10 years. I mean,
Yeah.
look at that big ass contract they signed him. He's
You
worth every
need a
penny.
backup. You need a backup
But you need a
quarterback,
backup.
though. That's it.
Yep. I mean, because they needed a backup last year. Minshew Mania was out there when Patrick, and you know what? And they might say, you know what, Garrett Nussmeister's going to start the whole season because we need to rest Patrick Mahomes.
And that's
So
if Boots had it his way, that's what would happen.
Right. And we also thought that, of all the teams that Justin Jolie could have gone to, we thought he was going to go to the Chiefs as well, because that would have been a really good fit. I mean, we were sitting here talking about how Justin Jolie could be the heir apparent to Travis Kelce, and let's not let that dream go just yet. I mean, yes, he's going to start his career in Denver, and we're good on him, but, let's keep an eye on that. That might, I'm still not ruling it out, but yes, B+ for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And then let's talk about the LA Chargers. If there was a player that came out of this draft that just said, yeah, this fits, I think Akeem Messidor fits the Chargers. I think that is a Charger all day long. I think he fits exactly what the Chargers want to do. I was like, that's more of a fit. They lost Odafe Oweh. They fixed it with Messidor. They go out and get Jake Slaughter, the center. They needed a center. They get the best center in the draft class, which was all right, great. They get Genesis Smith, the safety out of Arizona. I like that pick. I really like the Nick Barrett pick out of South Carolina. I really actually like Logan Taylor out of Boston College. I wasn't mad at that selection either. So they got some decent picks. They did fill draft needs, which I was very happy that they filled some of the needs they had. I thought they could have done a few different things at the wide receiver position. But at the end of the day, for the Chargers, B-. I wasn't super crazy about it, but I'm not mad at it. Where you at?
That B-. I agree with that. I mean, you need help. I forget the lineman who got injured last year. And the name escapes me for the moment. I apologize, but you definitely needed to get
Sean Slater and Joe Alt.
Yes. Oh yeah. So both those guys. Mm-hmm. So you really hope that those guys are going to come back and get back set on the line. But Jake Slaughter would be a great. Jake Slaughter is a great addition to this football team. So not all hope is lost, but you definitely want to make sure your big guns get back on the field. But yep, I'm in lockstep with you there.
And next up, the Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, interesting stuff from them. They go out and get Fernando Mendoza, no surprise. Tre'Davious Stukes, the safety out of Arizona in the second round, and then they followed up in the third round with Kayron Crawford, the edge rusher, which all three of those picks I'm not super mad at. Stukes was one of those ones that was a little earlier than I expected. I thought there was better corners out there at the time. Trey Zune, the third out of Texas A&M, was another one, a little surprised by. Jermod McCoy, I thought was a steal, first pick of the fourth round. It was like that needed to happen. I understand there's a degenerative knee issue, but I mean, at that stage of the draft, you're not taking a monster risk at the first pick of the fourth round. Mike Washington Jr., I thought, is a steal. You went and picked him up. The rest of the picks were kind of meh to me. I do like Malik Benson out of Oregon, but I mean, the rest of their picks were sort of kind of to me. I like Mike Washington. If it was me, I would be dealing Ashton Genty at this point, because what in the hell did you get Ashton Genty for if you're going to go and draft a stud like Mike Washington, who is a bell cow type of back? And Ashton Genty nearly broke 1,000 yards last year with just Colton Miller and everybody else on the offensive line. I like Mike Washington, and really I like Mike Washington better than I like Ashton Genty, if I'm being honest. So, me, I think it's a B- for the Raiders. I think they did what they were supposed to do and go and get Mendoza. But, after that, the Stukes is okay. It was just an okay draft. I'm not super crazy about it. It was an okay draft. B-.
I'm going to say C, and here's why. Because you needed a different C at center, and you really could have done well to get Pat Coogan instead of Trace Zune III. Number one, Pat Coogan and Fernando Mendoza are teammates, so you have that, you have that chemistry. Plus, the fact that Pat Coogan, we didn't hear his name one time during the draft. He's an undrafted free agent, and that boggles my mind.
In the 160s, he went. Well, we'll wind up talking about Coogan. I forget where he went, but he did go.
Oh, he did go. Okay.
Yes.
I must have missed it. But regardless, the point is still made. The Mike Washington pick, yeah, it's a good pick. And, Jamar McCoy was an absolute steal. But it's to your point. You already have your bell cow back in Ashton Genty, or so we were led to believe. So what happened? I'd be interested to see if the Raiders deal him, or are they going to have like a thunder and lightning kind of thing going on here?
It's interesting the way that they drafted. So we're going to have to take a step back and kind of see. The Raiders are interesting. They're just interesting. During the draft, it was looking like, oh, hey, maybe they are having a good draft, but I'm not so sure. Team that had a good draft, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. First of all, they go out and get themselves Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. They go out, which was smart. They fill that role. They go out and get Chris Johnson, the corner out of San Diego State, another rock-solid corner. They get your guy, Jacob Rodriguez, out of Texas Tech. Loved him. Here's a Will Kasmerick out of Ohio State, the tight end. It was surprising, but they go out and get him. Here's another interesting one. Chris Bell out of Louisville. This guy would have been a first-round pick if it wasn't for the torn ACL that came late in the season. Look, this guy is going to wind up, when he's healthy, he's going to wind up being your next Tyreek Hill. That's what they're banking on him being. And then they go out and get a guy we loved, Kyle Lewis out of Pittsburgh, the linebacker. We were crazy about him. Michael Taffy, the Texas safety. A lot of people were saying, hey, this guy's going to wind up being just a special teamer. Look, I don't think that's the case. I think Taffy's going to wind up being a star. DJ Campbell out of Texas, and another guy we love, Max Llewellyn, the edge rusher out of Iowa. Another guy we were pretty crazy about, too. I really liked the Miami Dolphins draft. I really did. I think they did just about everything they needed to do. They could have probably used one more big time receiver that would have started like immediate. If they did that, this would be a home run for me. I'm going to give it an A-. I really like what the Dolphins did here. I think they really rocked this draft. Give me an A-.
I agree. And really, you really couldn't miss with the talent that was in this draft, and given the fact that the Miami Dolphins are basically tore their entire team down to the studs. There's no drywall. I mean, it's just wood. Yeah. So, I don't think you could have really missed on any of these picks because you need all the help you can get. But not only did they not miss, they had some pretty good hits. So Miami fans should now have a little bit of hope, and that you're building a young team,
just a pinch,
a little bit, just a pinch of hope. It's like, you know what? In about 3 years, and realistically too, 3 years, we might see the return of the Miami Dolphins. We could.
Yeah, we could see them coming back to life here. Moving in around that division, let's talk about the New England Patriots. Caleb Lomu is their first overall pick, 28th overall. They also get Gabe Jackus in the second round with the 23rd pick over in the second round out of Illinois, which I thought was really solid as an edge rusher. I like that pick. Eli Raridon, the tight end on the Notre Dame, kind of an interesting pick there. He's a blocker. I think he's more of a blocker than anything else. A lot of people say, oh, he's going to be great in this league. I'm not so sure. I'm not the first three picks I'm kind of here for. I'm okay with Jam Miller in the 7th round. I thought that was kind of a steal as well. But you already have a pretty crowded running back room with Ramondre Stevenson, who is getting a little long in the tooth anyway. So you might be seeing him go out the door. Jam Miller, I think, becomes the backup to Henderson. But, I mean, beyond those 4 picks, it's okay. C-. I thought this draft was just meh. It's all right, for the Patriots.
And in their defense, I'm going to give them a C because they already have most of what they need. They are a Super Bowl team. This was a team that a couple of years ago was picking 3rd in the draft, and they picked up Drake May. A couple of years later, they make it all the way to the Super Bowl and get waffle stomped by the Seattle Seahawks, but that's a whole different story. That's just a good team. That's just a decent team running into a brick wall. That happens all the time. But, they have what they need to make another run of the Super Bowl here. And this is the result. So we shouldn't have expected anything major in this situation, but I think C is the fairest grade I can give in this situation.
Next up, let's talk about a team that I think had probably the best draft out of anybody in this class. The New York Jets. Sir. The Jets tore this draft up. Edge rusher David Bailey in the 2nd overall pick. They go out and get Kenyon Sadiq with the 16th overall pick. You get Indiana receiver Omar Cooper Jr. at wide receiver. So you get a compliment to Garrett Wilson. You get 2 compliments to Garrett Wilson, really. You get a number 1 corner in D'Angelo Pons, who we are all in love with. We thought he was just going to be phenomenal. You go out and get a great defensive tackle in Darrell Jackson Jr. out of Florida State, who at this stage in the 4th round, 3rd pick of the 4th round was a steal. I had him going early 3rd round. Cade Klubnik, who 10th pick of the 4th round, you needed a backup quarterback behind Geno Smith. And then you finish off your weekend with the 12th pick in the 7th round being VJ Payne out of Kansas State, the safety, who a lot of people had projected like 4th round. Some people had him projected as high as 3rd round. Man, you want to talk about a draft that, was the end all be all, filled every single thing that they needed, did everything right. They did literally everything right in this draft. Filled every draft need. They went out and got stud players, great edge rusher, great tight end, great wide receiver, great corner, great defensive tackle, great safety, great backup quarterback for your guy right now who's probably going to be the heir apparent. They did everything right. The only guy that they missed on, and realistically, in my opinion, was Inez Cooper. That was probably the one guy that I wasn't really sold on out of the bunch. But we'll have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, you want to talk about a team that had a great draft, A-plus draft, the New York Jets. Yeah, it's an A-plus draft. It was an A-plus. There's no bones about it, no way around it. This is an A-plus draft by the New York Jets. Alex, where are you at?
I'm 100% in lockstep, but the question also has to be asked: can the New York Jets capitalize on this? If not this year, in the years to come? Because again, you're supposed to be, building these players up. These are rookies, but then as the years go on, if you can, develop them and build them in a couple of years, they will be powerhouses. They will be household names. And again, the only problem I have is that it's the New York Football Jets and their government cheese owner, Woody Johnson. I can't trust him any further than I can throw him. But if we take him out of the equation, I think the Jets really have a chance to turn things around here.
I think this was a huge step in the right direction for the New York Jets. The way that they handled this draft, going younger, and they filled all of their draft needs. I love what they did in this draft. And another team that I love that they did is another team where I loved what they did in the draft. There we go. Was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another really good draft. You get your offensive tackle in your first pick at 21 overall out of Arizona State. And I struggle with this name every time, so you're going to have to Max Ihienekor, I think. I've always struggled with it. But anyway, he was a stud coming out of the combine. We liked him a lot. We actually were really big on him coming out of the combine, and then watching tape on him, it was like, oh, okay, this guy could be for real. They need an offensive tackle. They got an offensive tackle. Jeremy Bernard, another guy.
Leg B team.
Yep, you get a rock solid wide receiver. You get Drew Aller because you're going to have him sitting there behind Aaron Rodgers, learning. You get Dalen Everett, who's a rock solid corner. He's been playing against some of the tough SEC talent that's out there, so he's a good pick. You get your guy, Jennings Dunker. So you get two offensive tackles.
One of my absolute favorite players in the whole combine process. I came for the mullet. I stayed for the drills.
Jennings Dunker, I'm totally here for it. So you get two offensive tackles, two big-time offensive tackles. So it makes a lot of sense that you didn't pick up the fifth-year option on your former first-round pick. Caden Wetjen, who we loved at the combine, another big-time wide receiver. Eli Heidenreich, the running back out of Navy that you were big on. You know, you loved Heidenreich coming out of the combine. Robert Spears Jennings, the safety out of Oklahoma. We loved him coming out of the combine. I mean, these guys all are guys that had really awesome off seasons, really awesome draft processes. This is another one where they really knocked it out of the park. I think the only way you didn't knock this out of the park is not getting a guard, but there was legitimately nothing stopping you from kicking one of these tackles in the guard or maybe making I could see Jennings Dunker playing inside. To be honest with you, I could see him playing inside.
He's got the beef. He definitely has the beef and the punching power. Did you hear how hard he smacked that bag? On day 4.
It echoed all over the stadium there. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. It sounded like a gun going off. That's what it sounded like. It was like, holy shit, what was that? I mean, and you almost saw the coach get knocked over, which I think said something. But Jennings Dunker, I mean, I thought this was an excellent selection for the Steelers, and he looks like a Steeler player all day long. That guy looks like a Steeler. So I mean, for me, I mean, I like this draft a lot. This is another one. This is an A for me. I thought the Steelers had themselves an awesome draft here. Give me an A for the Steelers.
Yep, myself as well. No objections, no questions. A.
Yeah. And then last but not least, in the AFC, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. They go out and get Carnell Tate, which was weird. I didn't feel like this was their biggest draft need. I didn't think it was necessary. It just,
you had Arvell Reese staring you in the face. I mean, Arizona balked on him to go get Jeremiah Love, which was another head scratcher. We'll talk about that next week. But you follow that up and go, all right, Arvell Reese is right in my sights. I'm going to go get a wide receiver. What?
It made no sense, and I understand you need a second receiver at some point, but it's a deep receiver class. You could have gotten a different one. Carnell Tate at 4, and then you follow it up, and at least they traded up and got themselves an edge rusher in Keldrick Falk, which I really liked that move. I like Keldrick Falk a lot. Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas, the linebacker. I thought that was a really solid selection, so they really shored up the defense. I didn't really like the Carmona pick in the 5th round, but Nick Singleton falling to them in the 5th round was a steal. They do wind up with Pat Coogan in the 6th round, the 13th pick of the 6th round. So I did like the fact that they did get Coog here. This isn't a bad draft at all. Solid B+ for the Tennessee Titans, in spite of the fact that I didn't agree with the Carnell Tate pick. He's still going to be a good player in this league. He's still going to end up being a really good weapon for Cam Ward. B+ for me.
Yeah, I would probably just argue the fact that it's a B only because of the Carnell Tate pick, just because it's a misuse of a premium draft pick.
Yeah,
that's what it is, a misappropriation of a top tier draft pick. But other than that, I mean,
that's what Ray put it as too. He said it was just a misappropriation of premium draft capital.
Yep. And that's the end of the day. I mean, you can't make that mistake as an organization. I mean, if you want to be taken seriously, not to say that they shouldn't be, but at the same time, better options existed, but I mean, here you are. I mean, I'm like you said, this is not a knock on Carnell Tate. He's going to be a great player, and I'm hoping that he and Cam Ward have a decent connection, because then we're going to really start to see this team, compete for an AFC South title. But we'll have to see.
I agree. I believe that. I believe that these guys are going to be spectacular down the stretch. I hope that there's a good rapport that develops between Ward and Carnell Tate. I think that would be very fun. But with that, those are our grades for the AFC draft, the AFC teams in the draft. We'll be talking about NFC next week. I'm hoping that we get Boots on the show. That would be fun. But yeah, right now we are getting ready to head out of here. And folks, before we head out, we just want to give a shout out, first of all, to It's Your Time Massage. Amanda's a wonderful massage therapist. She does amazing work. She's the best massage therapist in the Metro Detroit area. If you're looking for a massage and you want to get a Swedish massage, a deep tissue massage, if you're looking for hot stones, if you're looking for muscle scraping, if you're looking for cupping, if you're looking for you want just a little bit of CBD oil for a little bit extra, you can get those types of things. You can get red light therapy. You got to check it out. It's Your Time Massage LLC on Facebook, or you can find her at iytmassage.com. You can book yourself an appointment. And remember, folks, it's your time. Also, let's talk about the artist formerly known as Big Willie Dubs Gaming, now known as No Shot Bot TTV. Yeah, he's over there on the TikTok.
The TikTok.
Yep, there's my old man moment for the day. Over there on the TikTok doing some good stuff. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him on the TikTok. A lot of first-person shooter stuff going on over there. But he does some other entertaining stuff, threatening to shave off his beard, eating nasty jelly beans, doing the Hot Ones Challenge, all kinds of fun stuff for your entertainment. So you got to check him out over there at No Shot Bod TTV. Have a look at what he's doing over there. And Alex, what do you guys have going on over there at the Steel Twins Gaming Studio?
Well, I just have a quick question for everybody. Do you like video games?
Yeah.
Do you like theater?
Yeah.
The Steel Twins Gaming may just be what you're looking for. Whether it's the good old first-person shooter, RPG, or your favorite story-based adventures, we think we have something for just about everyone. We've got everything you need to satisfy your digital cravings, whatever they may be. And best of all, our channel has something nobody else has: voice acting. Every week, my brother and I will play a game that has a lot of text-based dialogue, and we will act it out with the voices that come up in our heads for the characters you see on screen. Sometimes we do our best to highlight the drama of the situation. Most of the time, though, we're just goofing off to have a good time. Either way, we're sure you'll be entertained. We are on every single Saturday afternoon about 2:30 p.m. Follow us on Twitter at Steel Twins Alex. Follow us on our Facebook page to keep up to date on our shenanigans. And don't forget the brother channel, Steel Twins Andy. It is there. You will get your full fix of Nostalgic Mondays, Nintendo Tuesdays, FPS Wednesdays, where I'm guest starring. We're playing Borderlands 2, Indie Thursdays, and Open World Fridays.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we got one more thing to talk about. Let's talk about books, Alex. Let's talk about a book called I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash. It's by a wonderful author by the name of Tammy Pruitt. She is tremendous. It's an inspirational guide written by her. It's based on her real life experiences dealing with body image and eating issues. And look, she shapes her books with her struggles and how to overcome them. It's supported with research-based facts and accompanied by her professional advice as a registered dietitian. She's a scientist, Alex.
Science.
Exactly. She lets others know they're not alone in struggling with self-love, body image, and disordered eating. But listen, she's not your stereotypical health guru. All right. She doesn't run 7 miles a day, although she did run a marathon recently. I'm very proud of her for that. And she doesn't judge people for the kind of unhealthy food they consume. Instead, look, she's the friend you never had. She's the kind that encourages you and motivates you to rise above those dilemmas. She takes you on a trip down memory lane where life pitted challenges against her, and what she did to get through them. It reads like a conversation, not a boring one. This is a tremendous book. I highly recommend this book to anybody. It's a fantastic read. Check it out. You can find it on all the .coms. You can find it on barnesandnoble.com. You can find it on amazon.com. You can find it on Apple Books. You can go, you got to go on the keyboard though. You got to, I don't know if you can hear that. You got to tick, 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 tick. You got to go on the .coms and you got to go find this book, I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash by Tammy Pruitt. Grab yourself that book. Grab yourself a cold one. Grab yourself a cup of tea and go ahead and have yourself a read. It's a fantastic book. And with that, folks, that is our show for this week. Next week, we're going to be jumping into the grades for the NFL draft grades for the NFC teams. So we'll be jumping in. We'll be talking about Alex's Detroit Lions. We'll be talking about my Minnesota Vikings. We'll be talking about all the NFC squads. So that'll be a thing. We're going to be talking about all the news around the league. And then after that, we're going to be talking about our way too early 2027 draft prospects that we should be paying attention to going into the college football season. So I'm excited for that. We're going to be jumping into that stuff. So I hope everybody's excited. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking off, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. Alex, man, what a draft weekend it was.
Yep. It's definitely one for the books. And that whole going live on day one, yeah, that's a yearly thing now, kids. And, just think, in just a couple of years, maybe even less than a year, maybe we may have our first live show, like in-person show.
That could be a hell of a lot of fun if we could make something like that happen. A live in-person show, maybe find ourselves a location.
Hey, Googman House, give us a call. Give us a call during Combine weekend. That would be fantastic.
Man, a trip to Indianapolis for the NFL draft, that would be a dream come true. But we would love to if there's any bar out there that would love to have a good podcast, we'd love to come out there and be a part of the joint and really host an NFL draft show. I think that would be a lot of fun. But folks, we want to thank you so much for listening. We want to thank all the folks that joined us live for the NFL Draft Podcast, and we really enjoy it. We enjoy what we're doing here. We've been noticing like I keep saying, the listenership keeps growing week over week after week, so we do appreciate that. So I want to thank everybody for listening and watching, and we will see you next time right here on the Outside Blitz.
I bet you watch us again, and with that, pow! We're gone.